I didn't want to admit it for 2 years. Every time I revenge traded, I told myself the market was to blame. The setup looked good, the entry made sense. I just got unlucky. Every time I held a loser too long, I blamed the strategy. It should have worked. The analysis was right, just bad timing. Every time I broke my rules, I had a reason. I was tired. The market was different today. I'd do better tomorrow. 2 years of excuses. 2 years of blaming everything except the one thing I couldn't face: myself. Then one day, my mentor asked me a question that changed everything. He said, "Are you impatient in other areas of your life?" I laughed. Of course I was. I hated waiting in lines. I interrupted people mid-sentence. I rushed through tasks to get to the next thing. He nodded. And you wonder why you can't wait for your setup. That's when it hit me. Trading wasn't teaching me to be patient. It was showing me I'd never been patient. The market didn't make me impatient. It just revealed what was already there. Everything happening to me was actually telling me something about my character. I just didn't want to understand it, because I wasn't ready to face all of this. When I needed to face it to become a profitable trader, I kept blaming external factors. Here's the truth most traders never accept. Trading is a mirror. It reflects everything you are: your patience, your discipline, your ego, your fear, your need for control, your relationship with failure, your ability to sit with discomfort. Everything. And most people don't like what they see. So they do what humans do when confronted with an uncomfortable truth. They look away. They blame the market. They blame the strategy. They blame their broker, the news, the volatility, other traders. They say they're unlucky. They blame everything except themselves. Because looking at yourself is hard. Changing yourself is harder. It's easier to switch strategies than to admit you're the problem. It's easier to learn a new indicator than to face why you can't follow simple rules. It's easier to blame the market than to confront the part of you that needs to be right more than you need to be profitable. Actually, we care more about protecting our ego than becoming a profitable trader. That's why being right becomes so important. Yet if we cared about being a profitable trader as much as we care about being right, we probably would have already become one. So trading is actually a clear mirror, one that shows you things you don't want to see, a mirror you try to avoid facing. Looking at that mirror isn't easy. It shows you things that are hard to accept. It tells you your weaknesses, your mistakes, and who you really are. And actually, if you accept all of this and have the courage to face it, everything starts to change. Let me show you how the mirror works. Every trading problem you have is a life problem. You overtrade? Look at how you handle boredom in your life. Do you scroll your phone the moment you have nothing to do? Do you fill every silence with noise? Do you avoid being alone with your thoughts? That's overtrading. The same pattern. No difference. You can't sit still. You need stimulation. And in trading, stimulation costs you money. You revenge trade? Look at how you handle being wrong. When someone corrects you, do you get defensive? When you make a mistake at work, do you justify it or do you own it? When life doesn't go your way, do you force things or do you accept and adapt? Revenge trading is just your inability to accept being wrong showing up in the market. You hold losers too long? Look at how you handle sunk costs in life. Do you stay in bad relationships because you've already invested time? Do you keep working on projects that clearly aren't working because you've already put in effort? Do you refuse to quit things even when quitting is the smart move? That's why you hold losers. You can't let go. You can't accept that sometimes the best decision is to cut your losses and move on. This is holding on tight to something you know you shouldn't hold on to. You just can't let go. But the only way is to let go. Deep down, you know this. But letting go is like accepting the loss and closing the position. Meaning the position closing at a loss is now certain. That's why it's hard. We don't want to accept it. Because we perceive accepting defeat as if it's a direct attack on us. As if it's personal. That's why it's hard. Here's what I learned. You can't fix your trading without fixing yourself. They're not independent of each other at all. I spent a year trying to fix my revenge trading with rules. Strict rules. If I lose 2 in a row, I stop. If I'm down $50, I close the platform. If I feel emotional, I walk away. I had rules for everything, and I broke every single one. Not because the rules were bad, but because I hadn't addressed the thing underneath. I hadn't learned to handle being wrong. In my life, I argued with people when they corrected me. I justified my mistakes instead of owning them. I needed to be right. And that need showed up in my trading as revenge. No rule could stop it. Because the root was deeper than trading. It was in me. And until I changed that part of myself, my trading would stay broken. Trading isn't actually a mechanism designed to expose all of this. It just reflects what's there, like life does. Just like life, it makes you pay the price for things you can't accept, struggle to let go of, can't face. Until you accept and start to change. So resisting and denying is useless. It only increases the damage you'll take. Accept your weaknesses. Look in the mirror and face it. Take responsibility for all your mistakes and what you've experienced. Starting change is impossible without doing this. You're not in this state by chance. Stop telling yourself this lie. This has nothing to do with bad luck. I went through those same paths too. We're all living the trading career we deserve, and there are many things we can do to make this better. First, we need to take responsibility, and we need to look back at our lives, because everything starts there, not on the charts. So I started working on it, not in trading, in life. When someone corrected me, I forced myself to say, "You're right. Thank you." Even when it hurt, even when my ego screamed. I practiced being wrong. I practiced letting go of the need to defend myself. I practiced admitting mistakes without justifying them. And something shifted, in life first, then in trading. When I took a losing trade, I didn't feel the same urge to get it back. I could say, "That was wrong. Move on." No justification, no revenge, just acceptance. The revenge trading stopped, not because I had better rules, but because I became a person who could handle being wrong. I was breaking my patterns, and this was changing everything. I had started to change, and this fundamentally changed my trading life too. Here's the part that most traders resist. The market doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care that you had a bad day. It doesn't care that you were tired. It doesn't care that the setup looked perfect. The markets are completely unaware of all of these things. It only cares about your decisions, and your decisions are a direct reflection of who you are. This is very clear and unchanging. If you're undisciplined in life, you'll be undisciplined in trading. If you avoid discomfort in life, you'll avoid good trades that feel uncomfortable. If you're impatient in life, you'll be impatient in trading. If you lie to yourself in life, you'll lie to yourself about your trades. The market strips away the excuses. It shows you exactly who you are, and most people don't want to see it, because this is terrifyingly uncomfortable. Very few people have the courage to tolerate this. That's exactly why very few people become truly sustainable, profitable traders. This is the real reason. It's not that markets are rigged or anything. It's that people are weak. They don't look in the mirror enough. They blame external factors. Let me tell you what happened when I finally looked in the mirror. I didn't like what I saw. I saw someone who needed to be right more than he needed to be successful. As if I'd started this to be right, not to make money. I saw someone who couldn't sit with boredom. I saw someone who justified every mistake instead of learning from it. I saw someone who quit things when they got hard. I saw someone who blamed external factors instead of taking responsibility. Admitting this was brutal, because it meant my trading problems weren't about the market. They were about me. And if they were about me, I had to change. I couldn't just find a better strategy. I had to become a better person. I realized all of this, and truly accepted it. Change was now inevitable. So I started asking different questions. Not, what strategy should I use? But, why can't I follow the strategy I have? Not, what's wrong with the market? But, what's wrong with my reaction to the market? Not, how do I win more? But, why do I need to win so badly? Those questions were uncomfortable, because the answers pointed back at me. But they were the right questions. And slowly, I started changing. Not my strategy, myself. I worked on patience by practicing it in life. I'd wait in lines without checking my phone. I'd listen to people without interrupting. I'd finish one task before starting another. I worked on discipline by keeping small commitments. If I said I'd do something, I did it. No excuses. No justifications. I worked on handling failure by seeking it out. I'd try things I knew I'd fail at, just to practice losing without it destroying me. And all of this showed up in my trading. I could wait for setups, I could follow my plan, I could take losses without spiraling. Because I'd changed the person sitting in front of the screen. I couldn't change the charts, but I could change myself. So I did, and everything changed. My entire trading career felt like it had restarted. Because I'd become a different person, I'd become someone who trades differently. My strategy was the same, though, but I was no longer making the mistakes I used to make executing it. I was much more consistent, and I'd managed to become the person I needed to be profitable long term. The answer I was looking for was about me. And actually, this was a beautiful thing. Because changing the charts is impossible, but changing yourself is possible. Here's the framework. If you want to fix your trading, start by identifying your patterns. What do you do repeatedly that you know is wrong? And what does this tell you about yourself? For example, overtrading, revenge trading, holding losers, taking profit too early. Whatever it is, write it down. Then ask yourself, where else in my life do I do this? Be honest, brutally honest. You'll find it. The same pattern exists outside of trading. It has to, because you're the same person. Then work on fixing it in life first, not in trading. In life, if you overtrade because you can't sit still, practice sitting with boredom. Meditate. Sit in silence. Don't fill every moment with distraction. If you revenge trade because you can't handle being wrong, practice being wrong. Admit mistakes. Let people correct you without defending yourself. If you hold losers because you can't let go, practice letting go. Quit a project that isn't working. Leave a situation that's bad for you. Walk away from sunk costs. As you fix these patterns in life, they'll fix themselves in trading. Because you're not the same person anymore. It's impossible to get the same results. Because trading is a mirror, and it reflects who you are. If you can manage to reflect the qualities of a profitable trader, you'll have become one. It's actually that simple. What you do outside the charts determines what you'll do on the charts. So focus on yourself and your life. If you act desperate for the charts, they'll never give you what you want. That's the dynamic of life, and the same applies to trading. There's no market maker conspiring against you. To be honest, they don't even know you exist. But you might feel like a bunch of things are happening specifically to you. The reason for this is that trading is a mirror, just like life, just like relationships. But we see it as a game different from everything else. But it's not. The same dynamics apply to trading. That's why less screen time means more money, because it means you're not desperate for it. Focusing on ourselves and fixing ourselves therefore means making more money, because it means we're at the center of our lives, not trading. I know it's not easy. I'm aware it's easier said than done. But if you want to achieve something on this path and change your life, it won't be easy. You have to do things that bother you and challenge you psychologically. You need to expand your boundaries. You need to update who you are in the right direction. You need to adapt. You need to recognize your weaknesses and face them. You need to take responsibility. This is the most important thing. That's why I keep repeating it. Because someone who sees the source of the problem as external factors rather than themselves is always in the victim role. They believe that for things to go well, they're dependent on those same external factors. So they can't do anything. But if you take responsibility and accept that the reason your trading career has been like this until today is you also accept that what you can do for a better trading career starting tomorrow depends on you. That's why I saw the need to take responsibility. And I did. It was an uncomfortable process and it was never easy. But it was worth it. Trading is no longer at the center of my life, and the main reason for this was that I wanted to be a profitable trader. I hope you understood what I said. Here's what's wild. Most traders never do this. They'll spend thousands on courses, they'll backtest for months, they'll try 50 strategies, but they won't spend 5 minutes looking at themselves. Because it's uncomfortable. It's easier to blame the strategy. It's easier to think the answer is out there somewhere, in a new indicator, a new setup, a better broker. But the answer isn't out there. It's in here, in you. And until you face that, you'll stay stuck. switching strategies, blaming the market, making the same mistakes with different setups. Because the problem isn't the setup, it's the person executing it. Most people aren't profitable traders. And this is exactly why. Because most people don't have the courage to face the person in the mirror. They never will. Don't be like most people. You face it. Take responsibility. And change your life. You're not a victim. You're responsible for everything. You can also be responsible for your beautiful life tomorrow. I believe in you, and I know you can do it. Don't be surprised that it's an uncomfortable and difficult process. The reward is equally great. So this path isn't designed for everyone. It's designed for those who have the courage to face themselves and for those who adapt to change rather than resist it. Trading isn't for everyone. It never has been. Let me give you the hard truth. If you've been trading for more than a year and you're still not consistent, it's not a strategy problem. It's a you problem. Your strategy probably works. Most strategies work if executed correctly. The issue is execution, and execution is a reflection of who you are. Your discipline, your patience, your ability to handle discomfort, your relationship with being wrong. If those things are broken in life, they'll be broken in trading. Fix them in life, trading will follow. I know this because I lived it. I spent 2 years blaming strategies, switching, testing, searching, and I stayed stuck. Then I spent 6 months working on myself. Not my strategy, myself. I worked on patience, discipline, handling failure, letting go, and my trading transformed. Not because I found a better strategy, but because I became a better person. The strategy I'd been using for 2 years suddenly worked, because the person executing it had changed. This is actually beautiful news. Take responsibility instead of resisting, and let everything change. Here's the challenge. For the next 30 days, stop trying to fix your trading. Stop looking for new strategies. Stop watching videos about setups. Instead, work on yourself. Identify one pattern in your trading that's destroying you. Then find that same pattern in your life and fix it there. If you overtrade, practice sitting still. If you revenge trade, practice being wrong. If you hold losers, practice letting go. Just one pattern, 30 days. Fix it in life. Then come back to your trading and watch what happens. I promise you the pattern will be weaker, maybe even gone, because you're not the same person anymore. And trading is just a mirror. Change the person. The reflection changes too. Here's the final truth. Trading will never be easier than you are as a person. If you're impatient, trading will be hard. If you're undisciplined, trading will be hard. If you can't handle failure, trading will be hard. You can't out-strategy your character. The market doesn't reward the smartest strategies. It rewards the most disciplined people, the most patient people, the people who can sit with discomfort and make good decisions anyway. And those aren't trading skills. Those are life skills. Build them in life. They'll show up in trading. Ignore them, and no strategy will save you. The mirror doesn't lie. It shows you exactly who you are. The question is, are you willing to look? And more importantly, are you willing to change what you see? That's the only question that matters, because everything else is just noise.